morning, my beautiful babes and babesettes. But yeah, I'm your resident active advocate, and shocker, Lily screwed up in the last video. I'm making a part 2 anyway because there are themes in Forward Shakespeare, which I did not get around to discussing in my last video. But the thing that I screwed up is a bit on terminology. The proper term for the dogs who help to lead the blind is guide dog, quote, rather than, quote, seeing eye dog. The reason why I am more familiar with the term seeing eye dog is because all of my friends who have guide dogs have gone to the school for guide dogs. I believe it's in New York State. It's either in New York or in New Jersey, and the school is called Seeing Eye. So that's where I screwed that up. But yeah, the right term is guide dog. So in Forward Shakespeare, there is an additional theme that crosses over with the next series I want to begin on this channel when I am done the book series, and that is the theme of infantilization. So when Tim gets home from the school where he gets Shakespeare, there's a bit of a family split about how Tim should be treated now that he is blind. And a lot of this book has to do with the transition from sighted person to blind person. And there are things that help and there are things that don't help. And much of what does not help is his mother's view of how Tim should, quotation marks, be allowed to function now. His sister and his father both agree on him having a relationship with Shakespeare and him using this dog to be an independent person and to continue to be able to get around his community on his own, because much of what makes a person independent is their independence of movement. When it comes to Tim's mother, however, she engages in infantilization, which, as it sounds, is to treat a person as though they have become an infant, regressed to infancy, because of a condition that they may have inherited, or for any number of reasons. A parent can infantilize a child. It may also happen with the, quote, abled, in that some parents are just not able to let go of their little baby. You know, it's not all that uncommon. You see it a lot. And this is often more true of parents who do have kids with disabilities, regardless of whether those disabilities are congenital or not. And I know people who have experienced this to varying degrees. But with Tim, because his was very sudden and very, it wasn't natural to him, he wasn't born with it. Because of this very quick transition from, quote, being one thing to, quote, being another thing, then Tim's mother is not able to cope with this transition. And the problem that happens here is that she doesn't allow Tim, or does not want to allow Tim, to have the amount of independence that he could have with Shakespeare. And she's rather clingy. She's rather, oh, no, let me do it for you. Or you don't have to go out to do this. I can do that for you. And a lot of the effect of infantilization is, unfortunately, in relation to segregation. That was a lot of Asian words. But the whole ethos is basically, we see you as breakable. We see you as what my best friend and I call this the China doll effect, because we now see you as a China doll. Something that needs to be protected because it's very breakable. You know those Royal Dalton figurines that are like ludicrously expensive and that you only keep on the shelf in your china cabinet? That's what I'm talking about. Something that needs to be kept away and kept in a safe, cozy, dark place in order for their life to carry on in this sort of holding pattern where nothing really changes. But the problem with that is that if you don't let anything happen to you, nothing is ever going to happen to you. You know, that's the whole principle behind the movie Finding Nemo. At the beginning of the movie, Marlin, the father, says to his son, who is still in the egg, I promise I will never let anything happen to you. Marlin has just suffered a very traumatic loss of his wife and the rest of his children. Spoiler alert, by the way. Oh, and further spoilers for Shakespeare. I'm dumb, but so he says to Nemo while still in the egg, I promise I will never let anything happen to you. Now, Marlin means I will never let anything bad happen to you. But the problem with infantilization is that it is this effect, this need to keep the one you are protecting safe and guarded and unharmed. It's that on steroids. Infantilization is keeping the object of your protection, sorry, quotation marks, um, out of harm's way, but doing so in such a way as harms them. You know, it is not good for a human being to be treated like a China doll and to be put away on a shelf. And this is what Tim's mom wants to do with Tim, because she now sees him as somehow incapable, even though he wants to be incapable. I'm sorry, he wants to be capable. And with Shakespeare at his heels, or at the head, he has the capacity to be capable. Tim knows this, his sister knows this, his sister is immediately in love with the dog, and I love that dynamic, because at the book, Shakespeare is proved to be quite the hero when he saves the sister from drowning, which is lovely, and from being attacked by a swan, and swans in real life can be very vicious animals. You know, they're very protective of their territory and of their young. But Shakespeare is not allowed to shine if Tim is not allowed to shine. The needs of the human always have to come first. That's the whole idea behind getting yourself a guide dog. It's so that your needs and what you want to continue to be can be expressed in the real world. And I know that I've gone into a lot on infantilization in this video. This could, in some ways, be an introduction to infantilization, but I intend to reiterate this as well as expand upon it when I get into my first video in that series, because I think it's very important to recognize what we are capable of doing or of not doing to and for one another in the name of maintaining this whole idea of that which is safe and secure and constant. But nothing in the world is safe and secure and constant. Rather, everything is always changing, whether you have a disability or not, you know. And just because you may inherit a disability, or if you are born with a disability, that which makes you different also makes you human, because we are all different from one another anyway. I don't see the need for one difference, and this is the master status coming into play. I don't see the need for one difference to throw all of the people who have that difference into a completely different ethos, a completely different category than the rest of humanity. We deserve the same rights. We deserve the same freedoms. And come hell or high water, I'm going to get them. And I hope that this series helps other people to recognize what they are entitled to. This is not an entitlement mindset. This is, I am deserving of this because I am myself, I am human. Every human being has inalienable or unalienable rights, and we are all entitled to keep them and to act upon them. And this applies to anyone of any so-called minority group or any so-called majority group. You know, everyone is entitled to the same rights. That sounds like a group mentality thing, and it kind of is, but it's more of a species-wide mentality thing. So if it's the entire species, it's not a collective versus individualist mindset thing. It's the whole gambit, you know, the whole enchilada. So when it comes to Tim, he is only able to embrace his new identity when he is able to escape the mindset of I can't. And because the mindset of I can't will lead to I won't, will lead to stagnation, will lead to complacency. And stagnation and complacency are two of the greatest enemies of humankind. If we were stagnant and complacent, we would not have, well, this mode of communication, for one thing, amongst many, many other things. I actually said to someone online this morning, if we didn't want to evolve, the first time we ever saw lightning hit a tree, we never would have taken the fire and harnessed its power. Because the first piece of technology that really helped us get along as a species was fire. And fire is a transformative tool. It's worked throughout millennia of our species history. And we need to continue embracing change. We need to continue moving forward because there's no point in stagnation. If we stay in one place, we die. That's what happens. Everything has to keep moving. And it will, regardless of whether a person feels that they can move along with it. So you might as well get with the flow. And that applies, I am applying that statement to anyone who seeks to infantilize another human being. Get with the flow, please. Because otherwise, that person is going to stagnate as well. And you're not doing them any favors at all. So that is the conclusion to Forward Shakespeare by Jean Little, but also somewhat of an introduction to my infantilization series, which is a few videos off still. So, as I say, I will be reiterating these points come that time, but also expanding upon them. This is a very important topic, and we have to address it before it destroys us. So, thank you for your lovely attention and participation, and I will see you tomorrow for another book. Can't remember which one. I think I might know which one, but I've got a list. But anyway, I love you all. You're beautiful. Stay that way. Thank you. Goodbye.